So, right before Apple is to release a new software update, I typically get the same set of questions. That is, how's the performance? How's the battery life? Has battery health been impacted? So, in today's video, I wanted to do my best to answer those questions. In case you didn't know, in the next couple of days, Apple will be releasing iOS 18.5, and I've been testing this software on multiple devices, and I have the RC, which is the release candidate, the same software for iOS 18.5 that Apple will be releasing in just a couple of days. And I've been testing the iPhone XR. I've also been testing the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the iPhone 14, the iPhone 13. So basically all of these devices for several days. And I wanted to share with you guys my experience so far in regards to all those typical questions that I get in terms of performance, battery health, battery life, and everything else in between. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing I want to talk about is performance. Is there any lag, any issues, anything I need to worry about when I update to iOS 18.5? But instead of telling you, let me show you. So this is the control center. As you see right here, I'm navigating control center, everything buttery smooth. I can add any control, resize any control, as you can see right here, and everything is flowing just fine. So no hiccups. Even the control center feels a little smoother when you go to adjust the controls and the toggles here. Everything is buttery smooth in terms of animation, launching applications, scrolling through the OS. And again, that also translates to older devices, not only the newer devices like the iPhone 16 Pro Max here, but I've also been testing the iPhone XR. Same story here. So if I go into the control center here, you see that everything is buttery smooth and no hiccups, no issues, no lags. When I go to customize the control center, everything works as intended, very smooth. Again, launching apps, animations, and swiping, everything is buttery smooth. Now, I did run a benchmark here on the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max under Geekbench here. So let's take a look at those numbers right here. So right below here, we have Beta 4, and on the top, we have the RC. You see there, the numbers are pretty solid. So the numbers here on the latest RC for the single core score, 3,341, and the multi-core score, 8,367. So very similar to the Beta 4, and iOS 18.5 honestly has been pretty solid ever since the first beta, and everything seems to hold up until now, the RC. So this software update, the RC, should be the software that you'll get on your iPhone here in just a couple of days, and things are looking pretty good in terms of performance. So now I want to talk about battery health and battery life. These are two questions I always get. Now let's talk about battery health first. Has the battery health dropped on this iPhone after updating? And the answer to that is yes, a 1% drop here. So let's go into battery right here, and let's head on over into battery health and take a look at these numbers. This is my personal iPhone 16 Pro Max, first use September 2024, 284 full charge cycles. We're currently sitting at 99% maximum capacity, which is normal peak performance. Now, before iOS 18.5, this number right here was 100. Now, I can't complain. This iPhone is a little over 6 months old now, and I've continued to use this device on a daily basis. So in terms of battery health, I did drop a 1%, but nothing drastic, as you see right here. Keep in mind that after you update your iPhone to iOS 18.5, you may see that number change, but it is not directly related to iOS 18.5, but rather every time your iPhone updates, it runs a few checks on the operating system, and one of those checks is battery health, and the number could change. The number could drop 1 or 2 points. Just keep that in mind. No drastic changes here in terms of battery health, only a 1% after a little over 6 months of using iOS 18 on this iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now, something else that I did want to note is that I've been using the charge limit option, as you can see right there, ever since I bought this iPhone at 90%. So I think that's had a positive impact on battery health on this device. I just wanted to throw that one out there. Now, again, this also translates to older devices. So I've been testing the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Battery health and battery life has been pretty solid. Now, battery health did not drop on this iPhone after updating. It is currently sitting at 95, which was the same number before iOS 18.5. So things are looking pretty good in terms of battery health on the older devices as well as the newer devices, and even the iPhone XR. So far, the iPhone XR has been pretty good in terms of battery life as well for such an older device running iOS 18.5. Now, aside from that, I want to talk about battery life, because obviously this is also an important question that I get. So in terms of battery life, I have to say this is something that's always going to depend on how you use your device. But ever since I've been testing iOS 18.5, battery life has been pretty solid. So if we go here into battery life, you see here if we go into the 10-day, now there's one day where I didn't use the iPhone 16 Pro Max, that's why you see a dip there. But every other day has been pretty consistent in terms of battery life. I get through my entire day. I get anywhere from 12 to 13 hours of on-screen time. You see there, sometimes even 15. So pretty solid in terms of battery life on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, the iPhone 10R, which is one of the older iPhones to support 18.5, and even the iPhone 13 Pro Max. So if you were concerned about battery life, I would personally say battery life is pretty good on iOS 18.5, but again, that's always going to depend on how you use your device. So overall, my consensus is performance is pretty solid. Battery health, although I see a 1% drop, that is typical. And in terms of battery life, things are running pretty solid, pretty good. So keep in mind that iOS 18.5 will most likely become available next Monday on May the 12th. And you may want to update your iPhone because obviously this software update will contain security patches and important bug fixes aside from some of the latest new features. And there you guys have it. This is my update on iOS 18.5 before the release. A few things you should know about. Trying to answer to the best of my knowledge some of the questions that I typically get in terms of performance and battery life. I hope you found this information helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.